even served on the city council for a few years, a respectful member of the community. He'd been sent away for the sexual assault and murder of a woman who'd been viewing a house for sale. He'd always maintained his innocence, even when to confess would have given him a shot at parole. Officers of the Trafalgar City Police had arrested him, prepared the case against him, testified against him in court, celebrated when the verdict came down. And, 25 years later, those officers had been found to have been complicit in concealing evidence in Desmond's favor. Thank God, they all thought, although they didn't say, no one who'd been on the force back then was still working here. "He's arriving on the 5 o'clock bus," Keller said. "Want someone to meet him?" Sergeant Jeff Glendenning asked. "Emphatically not. I want no contact between our members and Desmond whatsoever, other than in circumstances that would happen with any citizen." "I'll do it," Glendenning said, as though he hadn't even heard the chief. "Someone needs to tell him he's not wanted here." "I said no. Stay away from Desmond, all of you. I know you're friends with Jack McMillan, Jeff, so I'll advise you strongly not to discuss the case with him." Smith was standing behind Glendenning, seated in the back row. She heard him mutter under his breath. Dave Evans threw him a glance. "John or I will find out where Mr. Desmond's staying and pay a courtesy call tomorrow. That's all." "Do the DAngelos know about this?" Solway asked. "They do. John?" Winters stepped forward. "Chief Keller and I called on them a few hours ago, soon as we got word that Desmond had bought a bus ticket to Trafalgar. They were not, shall I say, pleased at the news. For those of you who don't know, Sophia DAngelo was a local girl. She'd been in Victoria for university and came home the previous summer. Her parents wanted her to stay in Trafalgar, and they gave her the money for a down payment on a house to encourage her to settle down." "So the family had money?" "They were comfortable, but no more. Remember, 25 years ago, property in the Kootenays didn't go for anything like it does now, even taking inflation into account. The family has never had the slightest doubt that Desmond killed their daughter. They were extremely upset to hear the case was being reopened." Upset was an understatement. Molly Smith had been in the constable's office a few months ago when Mr. and Mrs. DAngelo had arrived, demanding to see the chief. Mr. DAngelo's bellows and Mrs. DAngelo's weeping could be heard throughout the station. "We had to tell them Desmond's coming back. Can't allow them to run into him unexpectedly on the street or in the grocery store." Winters pressed his lips into a tight line. The meeting had obviously not gone well. "You think they're going to do something?" Dave Evans asked. "Wouldn't blame them if they did," Glendenning mumbled, although he made sure it wasn't loud enough for the men at the front to hear. Winters and Keller exchanged glances. "God help us, I hope not," Winters said. "Mr. DAngelo made threats against Mr. Desmond, but he's 74, his wife 73. Both of them are in poor health. I advised them to stay out of Desmond's way, but I don't have to remind you people that this is a small town. The chances of them running into him in a public place are considerable. If that happens, all we can do is try to de-escalate the situation. I remind you that Walt Desmond, in the eyes of the law and thus in the eyes of Trafalgar City Police, has not committed any crime. He was apparently a model prisoner." "What about the rest of the town?" Solway asked. "How do they feel about this?" "Divided," Keller said. "Those who were here back then, anyway. To newcomers, it's nothing but an interesting news item. At the time, the town was convinced Desmond was guilty. When the appeal began and news of the police, incompetence is the word you're looking for," Detective Ray Lopez said. "That's not fair." Barb Kowalski spoke for the first time. The chief's administrative assistant, she'd been with the TCP for almost 30 years. She was the only person in the room who'd been working here back then. "Jack and Doug and the rest of the guys did a thorough investigation. What the paper said about them was a lie." "Enough," Winters said. Smith suppressed a sigh. Not only the town was divided. "Some people," Keller said, not looking at Barb, "are still convinced Desmond is guilty. Some believe he was treated unfairly. We can only hope people will keep their opinions to themselves and go by."